The sailplane lives in a trailer at the glider port. The trailer is outfitted for this particular glider and has fixtures, stands, and dollies that help me put the glider together and take it apart single-handedly. I can have the glider ready to fly in less than half an hour. I'm wearing a bib because the end of the wing has some really greasy fittings. Each wing panel weighs about 140 pounds, and this dolly is really handy. If I didn't have the dolly, another person would have to help me put the wings on. No tools are needed to assemble the glider. The wings and fuselage are held together by this one large steel pin. The glider is constructed entirely of fiberglass. It weighs about 600 pounds and has a wingspan of 57 feet. After the glider is assembled, I use tape to cover up the gaps between the wings and the fuselage to prevent air from leaking in or out. This helps the performance of the glider and also makes it quieter inside. Next, I do a pre-flight inspection to make sure the sailplane is properly assembled and that everything is working properly. Then the glider is cleaned to reduce drag to a minimum. I have the usual basic flight instruments and some specialized ones as well. A variometer is a sensitive rate of climb indicator, and this is my backup variometer. On the left is my main variometer, and on the right the airspeed indicator. My altimeter. On the left is my transponder, which allows air traffic control to see me on radar, and on the right the master control for my main variometer. I also have an aircraft radio. The PDA is connected to the GPS flight recorder. The moving map display helps with navigation, and the PDA also has glide computer software. The cockpit is well laid out and very comfortable. I could be in the air for over 6 hours, so I take along plenty of water, some snacks, and my cell phone. To get a tow, I have to push my glider about 100 yards over to the runway. After I put on my parachute, it's time to get in. After I complete my pre-flight checklist, it's time to close the canopy and hook up the tow rope. Wagging my rudder is the signal to go. The tow plane does the same to acknowledge, and away we go.
Here we go.
While I'm on tow, I'm flying formation with the tow plane. At Warner Springs, we usually tow to the mountains surrounding the field. Usually I'll take a tow between 1,500 and 3,000 feet above the airport, then pull the release when I find a thermal. Because of the mountains, it's not unusual to be 5 miles away from the airport and still be close to the ground. I'll keep an eye on my variometer and wait for a bump from a thermal. There's one. It's time to pull the landing gear up and release from the tow plane. Today, I'll be using thermals for lift. A thermal is a column of warm rising air, and by keeping the sailplane in the thermal, I can gain altitude. I don't necessarily need wind to stay up or to climb. To fly cross country, I will climb in thermals, then glide to where there is high probability of finding another thermal. How far I glide between thermals depends on how high the thermals go. On a really good day here, thermals can go as high as 16,000 feet. My glide between thermals can be up to 50 miles, but are usually between 5 and 20 miles. This sailplane has a glide ratio of over 40 to 1. This means for every foot of altitude I have, I can glide 40 feet. With a mile of altitude, I can go more than 40 miles. Often I'll share the first thermal with other gliders. When we have topped out in the thermal, it's time to get going. Jim is heading south, but I think I'll head north today. The view is fantastic. It's hard to believe there's so much open space in Southern California. I went a little too far on my first glide, and now I'm lower than I'd like to be, but I did find a boomin' thermal, just what I need. I've climbed from 5,000 feet to over 10,000 feet in this thermal, and now it's time to head out again. I can see some clouds forming in the distance. Seeing these clouds is like seeing a sign for a gas station from the freeway. They mark thermals. The closer I get to the clouds, the bigger they are getting. I can see more clouds about 10 miles away forming a straight line, a cloud street. If I can make it there, I can run underneath the clouds without having to turn. It is cold and damp in the shadow of the clouds. Even the camera is fogged up. Time to get out in the sun and warm up. I've made it quite a ways from home, and now it's time to turn around and head back. If I can't find enough thermals to get home, there are plenty of airports, private airstrips, and fields I can land in. I can either pay for the tow plane to retrieve me, or someone at the glider port can use my car and trailer to come get me. Heading south to Warner Springs, the view is fantastic. To my right, the Pacific Ocean, straight ahead, Mexico, and to the left, Arizona. On a clear day, you can see them all. This is going to be a long final glide home, and the glide computer says I just barely have enough altitude to make it. My friends sometimes have a subtle way of letting me know that they're doing a little better than I am. The closer I get to home, the lower I get. I have to make it through one valley and then clear a ridge, and then I'll be home. This is going to be close. It can get a little bumpy at times. I made it through the valley. Now I just have to clear the ridge. From here, it's a piece of cake. All I have to do is land, put the sailplane back in the trailer, and drive home. And there's my trailer. At home, I've downloaded my flight and can review it on the computer. This program gives me all the statistical data on the flight and also has a 3D map of the world. I can see where I fly in 3D, and this is very helpful when flying new sites. I can also review my entire flight in 3D. This software is great for planning future flights and also for seeing what my friends really did. I hope you've enjoyed a day of flying with me and that you have learned more about the exciting sport of soaring.
Then cut. God dang it. That was a bump. Get my shirt in the canopy. Oops. Not in the canopy anymore.